Good Friday morning, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Made Man, where we cover the 6th ever episode of Mad Men from the first season, Babylon. A lot happened in this episode. Maybe not a lot. Stuff happened in this episode. A lot of character development, I think. Well, I guess a lot of stuff happened. I mean, I'm going to kind of take it from character to character. Obviously, we always start with Don Draper. In this episode, he is brought in on this tourism for Israel possible ad campaign. So that is kind of his focus work-wise for this episode. He has the guys in he meets with people from the tourism board. They suggest a book for him to read that's going to be a Paul Newman movie. He reads that, and he's kind of, not as much excitement as he thought there would be. Talks about that with Betty, who said the first boy she ever kissed was Jewish. And Tom was like, how did that happen? There's a lot of anti-Semitism. It is steeped in anti-Semitism, all these guys. And it's almost innocent anti-Semitism, where they don't think they're not being hateful. But they don't realize how prejudiced they can actually sound. The whole, how did that happen thing is like, not like, there's nothing wrong with it, but with a Jewish person, but at one point he goes and he meets with Rachel Menken because he wanted to maybe pick her brain because, hey, she's Jewish and she's nice. She must know things. And he said, like, I don't hate, she said, she said something about the Jewish people. Maybe we have tolerance for doing business with people who hate us. And he's like, I don't hate you. And she's like, it's easy to not hate one person. In other words, me, you like, but you're still probably an anti-Semite or, at least prejudiced enough against Jewish people. But you could see that he likes her more than just, it was a business meeting, quote unquote, but he does touch her hand. He does, basically wish he could be with her more. And it turns out she feels the same way. Because we see her later calling, I assume, her sister who's smoking a cigarette and the cigarette's dangling over the baby carriage as she's rocking it. And she says she's fallen for this guy. And, he's pretty, he's okay when he has a couple of drinks in him. He's got a good hair on his head. Obviously, it's complicated. It's more complicated for Don because he is a man of multiple women. We go from Rachel to his girlfriend, the hippy dippy girl, who I don't know who she is. The art beatnik. I don't know if the hippie movement, I don't think started yet. This is like 1960. So I still think of this as the beatnik era. And whenever I think of beatnik, I think of a Munsters episode where Herman Munster was doing poetry. Like, I think. I don't know if that even happened. It might just be something in my head. I don't know why that's where my brain goes. But he goes over to see her, obviously because he's frustrated that he didn't get to spend time with Rachel. So his first thought is, I'm going to my girlfriend. She's a sure thing. But of course, she gets a knock on the door from a hippy dippy guy who is like, hey, I'm starting my own theater. You want to go down and see, they're doing a music, some band's going to play something. And they're like, Don, you should come. Yeah, bring your dad, because he's the square. And they go, and the guys have some, subtle arguments back and forth about, working for advertising or not even having a job. And there's some guy literally reading a wedding announcement from the newspaper, and that was considered like poetry. Then a woman says some short thing, and all they care about is her taking her shirt off. And then a couple of musicians come up, and they're singing Babylon. And I know that's a real song, right? That I don't know that song, but I think it's a song. I think I've heard it before. But it's funny because earlier in the episode, Rachel talks about the Jewish people originally in Babylon. The name of the song is Babylon. The term Zion is used in the song. It was used earlier in the episode. So it kind of tied things together. And I think Don listening to that music, seeing his, girlfriend, whatever you want to call her, with another guy friend. But hearing that song brought him back to Rachel, and he's more focused on her now than ever. That's my guess. That's my guess of where it's going. But that was Don's thing. I mean, he did have some time with Betty early in the episode. It was Mother's Day. And the first thing we see is him trying to make breakfast in bed for her. And he slips on a toy, falls down, everything crashes. And we get a quick little flashback of him as a young Dick Whitman, seeing his baby brother, being brought home from the hospital. He's like, that's not my brother. Like, you have the same father. Of course it's your brother. So I don't know where the dad is. I don't know what this upbringing is, but there's an uncle there. There's a couple women there. There's the mom, which is not his mom. So obviously, little Dickie Whitman doesn't look like he has a great childhood, because he was like, there's a lot of screaming. And the uncle's like, there always is. I don't know what that meant. If that meant the child was born right there. Maybe it wasn't brought from the hospital. I don't know. But that was just quickly dispelled. That they got Don, the family. He was fine. They all went out for the day. When they came home, him and Betty, I believe they got it on, but not before she said, I want you. All I think about is you. I've been thinking about this all day. She talks about the different things she does, but she can't focus on it because all she thinks about is him and him coming home. And it was like borderline sweet, borderline sad. Sweet, obviously, she thinks about her husband, but sad that seems to be her existence, waiting for her husband to come home, where he's off working and philandering. He's a philanderer who philanders. And he's not the only one in that office who's a philanderer who philanders. Obviously, Roger Sterling, the man, Don's boss himself, is a philanderer, and he is getting it on with Joan, the redhead secretary. And obviously, it's been going on for a year. Early on in the episode, we see Roger's family, his wife, who is his real-life wife, and his daughter, visiting. They want to get a haircut for the daughter. The daughter is sarcastic. He's like, and Joan comes over and is like, oh, I know a great place we can get your hair. Like, come on, let's go make an appointment. Cut to later, Roger is sitting up in bed, and he's saying, I don't know where we lost her. She used to love coming to my office. Now she doesn't want to work. She's had 2 boyfriends. One joined the army. The other one committed suicide. She doesn't want to go to college. I don't know what's going on. And I expect the wife to come out and say something, but no, it's Joan, and they're in a hotel room, and she's putting a dress back on. And he's like, this has been the greatest year of my life. So they've been getting it on for a year now, stepping out on his wife, how miserable he was. And now he gets to be with her all the time. And he wishes that he could have he could get her own apartment. And she's like, you like the sneaking around. That's part of that you like. He's like, no, I want you in an apartment with no walls, no doors, and you wait there all week for me. I mean, literally, it's almost in a weird way what Betty was saying, where I wait for you. That's what I do. She's not walled up, but she's at home waiting for him. And that's what Roger wants with his girlfriend. And he's like, I'll get you a little bird just so you can have some company. And later on in the episode, they meet up in the hotel, and there he has the little bird for her so she's not alone. I think he thought he was doing a nice thing. She's like, oh, you didn't. But, I mean, come on. Really, that bird is sitting in that cage the same way he wants Joan. I hope her name's Joan, because I've been saying it the whole time. He wants Joan in that cage. That bird is a symbolism for Joan. Sit there and wait for me, and you can't do anything, and no one else can touch you, and you got nothing else. Because she's like, I like to have parties, and like with men. She's like, oh, we have friends, me and this other woman. Roger wants her all for herself. So it's interesting to see where that goes over the years. I have no idea. I assume they're both in the show the entire run, so who knows what could happen. But there was, at the last scene of the episode, Joan leaves, walking out of the hotel with the bird. And I thought she was just going to leave the bird and walk off. But she is waiting for a cab. And then Roger comes out with his hat low. He walks over to another part of the road waiting for the cab. And they don't even reference each other. They don't even make note of each other, because this is the secret, little sneaking around that they do. They don't do anything except hang out in the hotel and get busy. Trying to think what else really happened in this episode. The guys met in Don's office and were talking about Israel, and they were a little, they had their subtle anti-Semitism about these women in Israel look so nice, so much better than the Jewish people that are around here. So that was pretty anti-Semitic. There wasn't a lot with Pete or I want to say Ken. I don't know. The guys didn't do a lot of other. The guys who work for Don, they weren't featured in this episode that much. But we did get a new character who's the head of research. I don't remember his name, but it's friggin' Joel Murray. I was like so excited to see that he's on this show, and apparently he's on the show a lot. And if you don't know who Joel Murray is, you might know his big brother Bill Murray or his other big brother Brian Doyle Murray, but you do know who Bill Murray is. Joel Murray is an actor. I believe for years he was on Dharma and Greg, but that's not what I know him from. He was in a little movie called Moving Violations. I loved it. It wasn't that good, but that's not what I know him from. I know him from this classic Savage Steve Holland movie, One Crazy Summer. If you've ever seen One Crazy Summer, if you remember the guy who had his self buried up to his neck, and then a large fat man put a chair down over him, ate baked beans, and then almost farted this man to death. Yes, that is what happened in this movie. That is Joel Murray, and that is the man who's the head of research at Sterling Cooper, and it was so awesome to see him. What does he do? He's working on lipstick, and they thought, what's the best way to get an idea of lipstick is to get all the girls in the office into a little research room so that they could try on all this lipstick. And it was really creepy because there's a one-way mirror or two-way mirror, whatever you want to say. And all the guys were like, oh, are we missing it? And they're all getting there. It's almost like they're in a movie theater. They're watching all the girls try lipstick. They're judging the girls. Sal's like, nope, not this one. Nope, not that one. Joan knows it's two-way glass, so she's shaking her. She kind of looks right in the glass, shakes her booty a little bit. She knows what's going on, but they really make these girls look like lemmings. Like, ooh, lipstick! I'm a pretty girl. I want to try on lipstick. It was like almost feel like, is that how girls thought they had to act? Is that how girls acted in the workplace, where like they finally got a chance to do something that wasn't just typing? But it was interesting that Peggy didn't try on any lipstick because her color wasn't available. Someone took her color, and they noticed that. And one of the guys called her, "Hey, what's going on with was it bunny ears or rabbit ears or something?" He said something about her ears. It was pretty mean. But Joel Murray noticed it when she came up with all the tissues, because they wanted to see how many tissues for different colors were used, which colors were used the most. She's like, "Here's your basket of kisses," and he was like, whoa, he kind of thought that was interesting. I mean, he still says, that was interesting, sweetheart, and all these things. But I think he was, first of all, surprised that a girl thought of this. And second of all, he was actually impressed by the creativity of that little term. Because he's like, who told you that? She's like, what do you mean? I just made it up right now. And he noticed that she didn't try on lipstick because her color wasn't available. And she was like, I didn't want to just be one of the 100 colors in the box or something like that. Basically, she's saying, I'm not going to try on lipstick just for trying lipstick. I like my color. That's the color I use. So I think that was an interesting thing, to the point where later on she actually got asked to write some copy. When she's not doing all her other work, she can get a little copy. I think she gets a little money. And you can see Joan went and is the one who told her the news, because I guess the guys couldn't even be bothered. But I think I sensed some jealousy in Joan. I swear, if her name's not Joan, I apologize. But I sensed some jealousy in her telling Peggy these things. But Peggy was like, she was thrilled to not just be doing the same old thing. And Joel Murray's character went in to tell Don that, how impressed he was with Peggy. He's like, Peggy, I try not to look straight at her so I don't catch earnestness or something, because he looks at her as so innocent. But you could see he was a little impressed by the whole thing. This episode, basically, the major points were Peggy, the guys realized Peggy has a brain. Peggy stood out. She actually gets a little, she gets to do a little copy on the side. Who knows what that'll lead to. Don, I think, even though he's got his wife, even though he's got his girlfriend, his focus, I believe, is on Rachel. The Tourism Board of Israel was just kind of an excuse to be able to see her. She is into him. And at the same time, Roger Sterling loves his wife, loves his kid, but really just wants to get a divorce and hang out with Joan all day, every day. And when she's not with him, he wants her in a cage waiting for him. I believe that's the episode. The title is Babylon, which I'm assuming is in reference to Rachel talking about the Jewish people in Babylon, the song at the end, Babylon, but I'm sure it's some sort of metaphor to everything they have going on there. It was a little musical montage at the end. I don't know how I brought an episode of the Munsters into this, but I did. And I think that's it. I think I covered just about everything. So what do you say? It's Friday. It's the last Friday of August. And did we get 6 Fridays in August? I mean, oh no. We got 5 Fridays in August because the first episode of Made Man that came out on August 1st obviously came out on a Wednesday. Then we had the 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, the 24th, and today, the 31st, the last day of August. Kids are back in school. The weather will start to cool down, hopefully. It's too friggin' hot out right now. But one thing that will not change is that every week I will be coming back to you with a new episode of Made Man, talking about a new episode every time of Mad Men as I make my way through every single episode. You can follow along with me right here at fansnotexperts.com/mademan. Or if you're listening through the podcast, you already know that we're available on iTunes. We're available on Stitcher. We're available on TuneIn. We're available on Google Play Music Podcast. If people actually use that, I don't think they do. We're available all over the place. If you have a podcast app, if you search Mad Men or Made Man, you will find us. We are there. We are everywhere. And we means me. There's no one else doing this but me. Okay? Hello, Morris Brothers. How are you? Hello. I don't know who else is listening, but if you're there, hello. You want to reach out to me? You can email me at mademan@fansnotexperts.com. You can leave a comment in the blog post over at fansnotexperts.com. On this show episode, you can leave a comment. Or you can tweet to me at MadeManPod. We're also on Facebook. It's facebook.com/fansnotexperts. And I feel a tickle in my throat coming, and here comes a cough. So with that, I'm going to go get a drink of water. I'm going to end this episode. And thank you for listening as I go along this journey to become a made man.
Fans not experts.